It's the bye week for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm here with Nick Leckey. We're down a man, Big B not joining us today, but we're going to talk about all that and more coming up on Outside the Trenches, presented by Five Farms.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
It's Outside the Trenches, presented by our friends at Five Farms Irish Cream Liqueur. I'm hanging out with Nick Leckey. It's kind of a throwback episode, Nick. You and I hanging out here. We only need BJ Kissel to really complete the true fullback. How you doing, Nick?
I'm good. Tucker. How are you doing tonight, man?
I cannot complain. There's some action on TV. I don't know how big you are into midweek college football action.
Not at all.
I greatly enjoy it. Well, here's the thing about Maction is that it's football on TV when there's not football on. And so
they're smart.
It's Tuesday, it's Wednesday. Sometimes they play Thursday, but it's usually Tuesday and Wednesdays when the MAC plays, especially closer to Thanksgiving, later on in the season. They have these big games to decide their conference basically in the middle of the week. And you're right. It's incredibly smart from these schools for the conference to say, hey, let's play when there's no other football on. Let's play when we have no other competition. What Dancing with the Stars is our other competition? Yeah, let's put some football on there.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I love the minor league mentality. Like, let's make this true entertainment. Let's get on a random day. I think it'd be cool too if you play a game on a Wednesday and you fly back home that night and you're going to class Thursday, going to class Friday, and guess what? You a normal college kid. You got the weekend to do it, man. That's
got the week. See, that's probably a pretty solid selling point if you're like recruiting kids. Like, hey, listen, most of the season, you're going to have your Saturdays. You can watch, because I'm sure these kids playing football are football fans. Like, I wouldn't surprise me. Like, hey, you want to watch like the LSU Alabama game? You're going to have time to do that because you're playing on Tuesday. But I think that's a really good selling point. Listen, the MAC figured it out. Conference USA started doing it too, where they're playing on Tuesdays. Like, other conferences are moving to midweek games. Yeah, I love it. I love every minute of it.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I imagine too, with like that TV contract, it was like on ESPN or whatever it's on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure, it's got to be like, hey, will you play your games Monday through Thursday? Absolutely. Pay me my money type concept, right? Because it's like we are baseball is not our national pastime. Football, American football, is our national pastime now. It has overtaken baseball.
Oh yeah,
it is overtaken baseball.
And you see how popular the NFL is too. I mean, they're going overseas. Like the Chiefs just played in Germany on their bye week. Now, appreciate everybody hanging out with us currently. I didn't know we were going to start this episode by talking about the MAC. But if you're listening to this show, we know that you love MAC football, because if you listen to this show, it's for the hardcore. It's for the hardcore fans. It's for people who love the B side. It's for people who want something different out of their podcasting. But Nick, coming out of the bye week, Chiefs get a big win over the Miami Dolphins. I want to get your initial thoughts on that game. Thoughts on the Sunday morning viewing experience from America, number one, and your thoughts on the game.
It was funny. I got buddies in London, and they were like, "Oh, great, football at 2:00. This is perfect, just like back home." So it was awesome for them, and it was weird for me because usually that's my Premier League watching schedule. It's like 6 a.m., 8:30, 10:30, and it's like, wow, okay, we got some actual hand day going on right now. And this is great. It was really cool, and just a great game. Classic Chiefs though, where I feel like they do enough, like just to get like passing grade and win, and it's pretty amazing. It's like they're a really good sales rep who's living quota to quota. Just do 102%, right? Just do enough to get over your quota and then move on. Right? It's like nothing more, nothing less.
It's good. That's a good way to put it, because it was one of those things where first drive of the game happened. It was like, oh boy, Chiefs are back. Offense is fixed. All they needed to do was play a real football team, and they decided to run real football plays. That's all they needed. But then it looked like they kind of, I don't know if I'm sure the Dolphins adjusted and everything like that, but it looked like they kind of mailed it in a little bit in the second half there. No points, Nick, in the second half, and they still win a football game. That's itself crazy. Is kind of impressive.
That's crazy. I mean, but that just tells you the strength of this defense. And I'm glad the defense and Spags are finally getting their due, because they've been literally hard carrying since the Los Angeles 55-54 game. Like, I think that was the threshold for the Spagnuolo defense to be like, you know what? We're not going to take it. This is Gandalf the Grey. We are planting our staff in the ground, and we're saying none shall pass. Boom, Gandalf the White. What's up? We're good. Let's do it. Let the Super Bowls come in.
The defense has been incredibly impressive. I know that. Listen, I was early on the defense. I get it. I was in this summer. I was saying I thought it could be a top 5 defense. Now it's some people are saying it's a top 3 defense. Craig Stout saying that in some regards it's a top 3 defense. Some statistical measures call it a top 1 defense. But it's been a very solid performance from the Chiefs, and they've played some good teams too so far this year. They've played some good offenses. They've held Jacksonville to only 9 points, no touchdowns. They stifled the Chargers, but they've been able to really hold their own, only allowing more than 21 points once, which was to the Denver Broncos, and kind of a
of all things, right?
Of all teams to kind of lose it against, the Denver Broncos to be that team.
But that's okay. So what that game encapsulates, and which should like dispel or just to broadcast to everybody, is how difficult, or not difficult, but how weird divisional games are.
For sure.
Like divisional games, like I remember playing, and your divisional opponent, it's like you knew them so well because you've been playing for them for years. You just have this feel for them, like what they do, what they're about. And it's like, man, you settle into these grooves, right? Of like, damn, man, they got us, or they whatever. And it's, you just know them. You know them so well that anything can happen in the divisional game. And it has no bearing on the rest of your season because they're almost anomalies or blips, because you can't say, oh, there's a divisional opponent, they always play them weird, right? It's like kissing cousins or something like that. It's weird. It's awkward.
Very much so. I do think it's interesting when you talk about these divisional teams, because these teams are like building themselves to beat the Chiefs. Like that is like their purpose, is to beat the Chiefs. So obviously if they win the division, obviously they make the playoffs. I don't think another team's not going to make it from the playoffs from the AFC West. So like their only shot at getting to the playoffs is winning the division. Your only like true shot of getting to the playoffs is winning the division. So they have to build these teams to beat the Chiefs. So when they're going to purposely match up really well against the Chiefs. But then like other teams, you'll see other times, like, the Dolphins hang 70 points on the Broncos. Like they just don't match up well with other teams. So I think that's always one of the things that I have to remind myself, especially when divisional games. And even though the Broncos might stink, and even though the Raiders are trying to just burn the whole thing down, which seems like a good idea, truthfully, because listen, I don't know if you saw the video, Nick, of them smoking cigars in their locker room after a regular season win. Have you ever seen in your playing days a celebration like that after a regular season win?
It's okay. Here's where I think where it started from. And it's not like Joe Burrow at LSU smoking a cigar after the Natty win, the dominant season. I think it goes back to, you look at basketball, you look at baseball playoffs, and those suckers, it's champagne and beer and put on the goggles after every playoff victory.
Yeah.
And I was always jealous of that, because like, I think we're in a Super Bowl, we couldn't bring in champagne to the locker room before, because they're like, no, you can't bring in that stuff to whatever. So I'm like, wow, it's a Super Bowl, but like the baseball does it for a damn playoff win in game.
Yeah, like wild card game. Yeah.
So who was running the KC Sports Network Twitter on for that tweet about, and it felt like it was BJ, because it was like nobody celebrates a regular season victory more than the Raiders, and I laughed face off for that.
Dude, it was good. Gotta give a hat tip to Joel. Joel's the guy who runs our social now, Joel Prestil. He also made another tweet about like, I don't know if you saw that Tyreek Hill said that the Dolphins and Chiefs is the NFL's newest rivalry, biggest rivalry. And he made a tweet saying that like, well, it seems like a lot of teams have called the Chiefs their biggest rival, from the Patriots to the Ravens to the Bengals to the Bills to you name it. They're saying that the Chiefs are the biggest rival, and they've been the one consistent throughout. And that has proven to be true, even though they've had a pretty suspect performance from their offense so far this year. Not the offense that we have been accustomed to seeing, Nick, but they do get the bye week when it feels like at the right time to get some adjustments. And we know Andy Reid's going to get that locker room right, everything. Lots of self-scouting going on. But thoughts on the Chiefs offense heading into the bye week?
I think the bye comes at a great time. I think because what do you have? How many games do we have left? Is there? It's just like January 7th is the last one, right?
Yeah, so they're 7-2, I believe. Nick, you might want to check me on that. I think they're 7-2. So they've played what, 9 games? Yeah, 9. This is week 9 going into week 10. So they have 9 games left, right? No, 7 games, 8 games left. There we go. My
Thank you,
math,
Nick.
my math
Yeah.
is not mathing at that point.
Right. But it's perfect. Like I always looked when I was playing, you first thing you look at is you look at your bye week and you pray that you don't have a week 4, week 5 bye week because that just sucks. But right
Yeah.
now, when you have a bye week or it divvies up the season, it's perfect. And I feel like the coaches are going to go into this bye week and they're going to say, hey, look, we need to retool this offense. We need to figure out who's our guy if Travis is covered, because teams have figured out that's Travis's Patrick's safety blanket. It's his binky, and the rest of the offense kind of thrives around that, as we saw, in games where Travis gets held down. It's like, man, you don't know what to do. And honestly, I don't think Patrick trusts this offensive line. Like, I just don't think that you're getting that protection. Like, I saw a stat and it said like the Chiefs have like the fewest pressures or something like that, but Mahomes bails them out a lot. Like he bails them out a lot. So it's like, man, that's something that needs to get figured out also.
Least sack team in the NFL, I believe. The Chiefs only have 12 sacks this year. And Nick, to your point, yeah, I think that's because of Patrick Mahomes. A lot of times you say sacks aren't a quarterback stat. That one's a quarterback stat.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it. But yeah, you mentioned the timing of the bye week. I think that the Chiefs have had some pretty fortunate luck when it comes to their placement of the bye week in the past few years. I can't remember like the last time I looked at a Chiefs bye week and was like, that's a bad week for a bye week. It seems like they've always had one of the pretty good area, especially then coming off of the Germany game, off of a foreign game. They then hit the bye week, which I think the NFL gives all teams the opportunity to claim the bye week after their international game.
Perfect.
I think
it's perfect.
It is. And I think there was one year the Jaguars didn't do it, or there was another team. There's one team that didn't choose to do it. I don't know why, but and then off of the bye week, you get the Monday night game, so which is an even more extended rest when you look at it a little bit further. But Nick, I'm curious your thoughts too on that, on the Monday night game after the bye week. Did you ever have that when you played the Monday night game after the bye week? And how does that play in the Chiefs' favor, especially going against it like an Eagles, a very big game?
Always. Well, I think if you can get a bye and then you get one extra day of rest, I mean, that's so crucial. Like, that is so crucial because there'll be times where you can't put weight on something on Friday, and then Saturday you're a little bit better, and then Sunday you're kind of like good to go once you get some proper medicine in you. So if you get another extra day to add on to your tear down rebuild cycle that you're constantly going through in the NFL season, that's huge. Yeah, that's so huge. And especially for your November games too, mid-November game, it's huge. It's absolutely, any day right now is awesome. It's awesome. And this is why you see when guys come in and start playing now who haven't been playing, you say fresh legs, right? Because they have fresh legs, right? And it makes a difference. It really does.
I am interested in just the amount of rest too going into a game with such magnitude, carrying just the Eagles and the Chiefs. Obviously, it being a Super Bowl rematch is a lot, but the Eagles probably the best team in the NFC right now. Some people could argue the 49ers. The 49ers haven't looked good as of late, I should say. Going against the top team, what a lot of people think in the AFC. So it could be a quasi Super Bowl preview again. Chiefs coming off of a bye, Andy Reid versus his old team, and I think that there's just a lot going into it. Now I was telling you this before we started, Nick. I had to look it up, but the win against the Dolphins, BJ Kissel talked about this on 10 Things this past week, was Andy Reid's 124th regular season win as the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. The victory tied him with former Chiefs and Pro Football Hall of Fame coach Hank Strom for the most wins in franchise history. Reid, who is also the all-time winningest head coach in the Philadelphia Eagles history, joined Dan Reeves, Tom Coughlin, and Tony Dungy as the only 4 coaches to rank in the top 2 in all-time wins for 2 different NFL franchises. And with one more win, Reid will pass Strom's franchise record of 124 wins, and he will become the first head coach in NFL history to be the winningest coach for 2 different NFL franchises. That win could come against the Philadelphia Eagles, who he is also the leading wins getter for as a head coach for the franchise. So scriptwriters doing a lot of work there, Nick. They did a really good job with that one.
They really did. I think it's a cool thing. Obviously, if you're a coach or a player, you want to get it for your coach, and your coach doesn't care. You just want to win. And this one's different too, because this could be a potential, Super Bowl repeat game. So you want to be cagey with what you have, what you put out there. And it's like, man, like, what am I going to show on tape to these guys? And then what's going to be different if we happen to meet again at a later date in February? And I don't even know where the Super Bowl's at this year. Vegas? Is it Vegas?
Vegas, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So it's like, yeah, if you want to be out in the desert, versus those guys, right? It's like, what do you do? And like I said, it'll be a good time to really see this offense line is going to get tested again. And I think if you're Philly, honestly, you're thinking, man, our front four, we can absolutely get after Patrick Mahomes, like absolutely get after it. I mean, and you see they're using like extra, like a back and a tight end, like as a flanker position to help out the tackles. And if you just paid your tackles and you got to help them out, man, that's difficult. That's very difficult.
Especially with Jawan Taylor, when you're relying on Travis Kelce to line up in a close split just to kind of split out the tackle a little bit and get a chip on him for your high paid tackle to want him to do that is tough. It's tough. You don't want that to happen. But Nick, one of the things that we were talking about pre-show too about what we wanted to talk about is how different the Chiefs are from the beginning of the season to prime football time, November, December, like when it comes down to like, all right, let's get serious about all this stuff. Because we haven't seen the offense necessarily click in for a full game. The Chargers game is probably the closest game we've gotten to that. But I'm curious, like, what do you think goes into that? What do you think makes them so different, especially with the bye week, with us in the bye week right now? Andy Reid so good out of the bye week, so good in the bye week, the self-scouting process, everything like that. But what do you think makes this team so different when it comes to like basically playoff time?
So I think what you do is during the season, and I'll start with like wide receiver drops. Like the Chiefs, Andy Reid's offenses are always good about, hey, look, you make some drops, then we're going to go back. We're going to go back at you. We're going to get your confidence up, because Andy Reid does play the long game, right? He's not going to bench someone if they make a few drops, because then you're wasting a resource, right? Where you kill someone's confidence. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about too in the locker room. We don't know who's hurting, who's not, who's got issues, off the field stuff. But I feel like last year, who was it? Who was the running back? Was it McKinnon or Pacheco? Who got the defensive December player of the month?
McKinnon. McKinnon had like 9 touchdown catches in like the last 6 games or something like that. It was insane. Yeah.
It's like the Chiefs offense, it simmers all season. And then once good football time happens, like, that crunch time, that late November, that December, like those are when the Chiefs turn it on. Like I said, I'd be curious to see the Chiefs December stats versus their September stats. I think it's one of those things where they figure it out. And then you have this great locker room, all these veterans, and somebody steps up. Someone always steps up. And maybe I'm saying that it won't happen this year. But that's been the case for the past couple of years. It's been the case where someone look at the trade for Tony last year too. That was huge. That was a huge addition. That really was. And so you can fall. I don't think that, obviously they didn't do anything like that this year, but we'll see someone like that. We'll see someone break out. And maybe MVS, look at MVS, like I think he's pissed that he had some drops, and I think he'll get that right.
Hope so. I mean, gonna need somebody to step up on this offense. I think, especially in that wide receiver room. That's been the biggest issue. I think that's been unanimous. Is like that's been the Chiefs' biggest issue through the first 9 games of the season, through the first half of the season. Basically, they've had no clear wide receiver roles necessarily be defined. It still feels like they're trying to figure out wide receiver roles in week 10 now. They're still trying to figure out who's going to be that guy that they can go to on third down. What's the package that they want to roll out to on, if they want to get a deep ball, like they're still trying to figure that out. And it's frustrating to some extent that they're trying to figure that out still in week 10. But yeah, big game coming up, obviously, after the bye week. Lots of storylines, no shortage of storylines. Eagles also coming off of a bye week as well. So that'll be really interesting to see how these two teams stack up and match up. But we're gonna talk a little bit more about looking around the NFL during Week 10. As look, the Chiefs, as we mentioned, on a bye week, you're gonna have to fill your time with something else, and why not more football? So we're gonna have you covered there. Talk about some other matchups around the league and much more. We'll obviously end up with Blind Nil too, so make sure to stay tuned for that. You're listening to Outside the Trenches presented by Five Farms. We'll be right back after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Appreciate everybody hanging out with us live here. As we go live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. here on the KCSN YouTube channel, Twitter page. And obviously, we appreciate you listening to the podcast after the fact. Couldn't do it without you. But we got some exciting stuff to announce at KCSN here coming soon. I'm not going to spoil it. It's a professional tease right there, Nick. That's how you do it. That's how you do it in the biz.
That's a good one. You're a natural talker. I've seen you grow over the years, and just from smooth transitions to excellent commercial reads. It's been great. I've been love watching you grow. So I feel like a proud father.
It's been this is like we're on year 3, right, of doing this podcast together.
I think so, man. I'm not sure. It's been so long. BJ and I did this before the Chiefs were good.
Right.
He's with the Chiefs. So like, if that tells you anything, right? It was like when Alex Smith, we're talking about Alex Smith. But yeah.
I just destroyed my microphone, so apologize to anybody listening. I got up out of my chair, just absolutely destroyed my mic. That's still not as professional as I lead on. True, but no, it's been a minute. So I was doing it. I remember doing this with you and BJ, and then Big B coming on board. Obviously, not with us tonight. He's doing all right. But appreciate everybody watching with us live at the time. Hey, drop some comments in there. Let us know. Ask us questions. We're down for anything on this show. As you know, we started talking about Maction, so we're gonna get all over the place here, Nick. But any games on the NFL slate now? Full disclaimer: not a good slate this weekend.
It's not. I haven't even looked.
The primetime games are bad. The primetime games are not good. I think the Bears are in prime time again. The Jets are on Sunday Night Football, I think.
Oh, are we not flexing things yet?
Well, you have the ability to flex, and nothing has been flexed. So not a very good slate. Bears Panthers is Thursday. Shout out Nick, super producer Nick in the chat here helping me out. Yeah. I'm not going to be watching that game. I'm going to find whatever college football game is on Thursday and probably watch that because it'll be a better brand of football, truthfully. But Nick, anything sticks out to you?
Yeah, Browns and Ravens. I really like that. I really like. I think that's definitely gonna be a game where you're going to want to take the under because it's going to be a defensive battle. For sure. Like I think it's gonna be a great game. It'll be a multiple of 3 game, right? Where the score will be like 9-6, like a extreme soccer match score. But it'll be a low. There might be double single digits on this one.
Ooh.
Like that would be a bet 9-6 or something like that, or like a late field goal. We'll do it. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I'm curious too. You piqued my interest. I'm going to do a live lookup of this right now because on DraftKings Sportsbook you can pick final scores. Like if you are so confident in what you think the final score will be, you can lay down some money on it. DraftKings will take your money if you
Love that. I love that.
if you're confident on it. But
Well,
yeah,
it's called a lock for a reason, Tucker. It's
you're right. That is probably the one of the only good ones. Niners Jags is another good one too, as well that we'll get. But the Ravens have themselves kind of a tough schedule coming up because they have the Bengals next week, so they're going to go from Browns to Bengals, and we're going to really see what they're made of here.
I agree with. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was looking at the chat, but I agree with producer Nick. Where the Lions at Chargers, that's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it could be a good one, or it could be a stinker. Like that's the thing with that one. The Lions could just absolutely blow them out. There's a lot going on. I liked this comment here from Balloon Raccoon. Also, by the way, sick name, Ballooned Raccoon. Holy cow! Honestly, it will be fun to watch the dumpster fire, and who knows, it could be the game of the year. You're right.
It could be.
Sometimes bad football is good football. And honestly, the motto of the Sickos Committee, Nick, I don't know if you're familiar with the Sickos Committee on Twitter. It has to usually do with college football, but they're based on the premises of all football is good football.
Yeah.
So that's especially this time of the year. Only have so many Sundays. You only have so many Saturdays. All football is good football. Producer Nick nailed it. I'm in the same boat camp as this one too. Bad movies. Sometimes bad movies are so bad that they're good. Listen, I think all movies are good. I've been tested on that take a little bit, but even if I'm watching a bad movie, Nick, I think I still enjoy myself when I'm watching a bad movie.
It's entertainment. It's entertainment. And, football has become entertainment. And you got to just take it as such. And it is funny when you do watch Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and then you watch some person who's temporary and you're like, oh, boy, this is rough to watch. And it's one of my favorite characters is Jason Lee's character in Vanilla Sky. And he says, you got to have the sweet with the sour. Because if you don't have the sour, you don't know how sweet the sweet is.
That's a bar. Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty bad quarterback matchups around the league too, going on in some of these games.
Truly awful.
Yeah, Tyson Bagent is starting for the for the Bears with Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young's still starting. Who knows if he started again? I think he's still planning on starting. But like they still have Nick producer Nick brought up Tommy DeVito. He's not very good. Like he's their like third stringer, rookie out of Illinois, slinging that thing. Listen, he had a good quarter for a little bit when he came in for the first time. It was kind of fun to see Tommy sling that thing. But yeah, it was no Josh Dobbs, which like Nick, let's talk about that. How hard is that? I want you to give some perspective into like how like you saw first. I guess I want your reaction. Like you saw that Josh Dobbs coming in 5 days before playing quarterback, not having to taken a snap from his center. The linemen don't know what his cadence sounds like. The wide receivers have no idea. Like they're not on the same page. They haven't even ran routes together. How tough? What he just did? How hard is that?
Well, it's extremely difficult, right? That's why he's a space engineer, right? He's like NASA level aerospace engineer, and so he's smart and he picks up the plays. You can remember it, but I also think great coaching job too for sort of like telling him, like translating the playbook to him. Yeah. On the field. I'd love the era that we live in now where we can get a live look, not a live look, but like a post-op, like a day later from the head coach to say, what'd you do? What was on there, right? And it's like everyone's trying to give the information where there's so much information sharing. I love it. And that clip on the sidelines of him taking snap to the center, it's a real thing because as a center, you get a different quarterback in there. It feels different. Down there, it feels different. They have a different firmness down there. I'm not even kidding.
I know you're not. Like I know you're
not. Cadence, right? And it's a cadence. It's different. So you got to get in tune with that. But man, it also takes a good job for him for being great with it. You also have an advantage too because the opposing team has no clue what you're about.
Right.
So it's the advantage. That's why you think, okay, it's great, and then next week it'll be a blowout. Like, okay, now we know who you are. You put some stuff on film. Okay, we're going to expose you now.
Kevin McConnell saying that they were basically like drawing plays up in the huddle. I'm just like, yeah, you run an out, you run the up,
Yeah.
you run the go, you run
And
the
that's how it
fade
should
here.
be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny that it happened against the Falcons and Arthur Smith, not good at his job so far. He can't get the ball to his playmakers in terms of looking at Kyle Pitts, can't get him the ball. Bijan Robinson having a hard time getting him the ball. Like it's so funny where he talks about like, oh, my offense needs like weeks to develop. Josh Dobbs comes in there, being there for 5 days, and was like, okay, I'll just go ahead and beat you here real quick because the quarterback that had been he was traded to come in and play quarterback, right? But
Yeah.
he wasn't ready to come in and play quarterback on that day. He wasn't ready
not
at all.
Not at all. No, he wasn't. And it's funny to see, like, why you don't need time for your offense to develop. You know, I think coaches try to earn their paycheck a little too hard sometimes. And it's like, it ain't like that. It doesn't have to be this complex system. I think simple is better. I think, honestly, if an offense, I honestly think you could be a great offense if you had a Tecmo Bowl offense. If you ran 6 plays and you could run them into anything, then I think you'd be great. You know, you would need a third and short, like a short yardage package, which is similar to your goal line short yardage. You would need a package to run some sort of run scheme, and then you would need a pass scheme where you're doing the third and long. So we get the exotic blitzes, and if you just have that, you're fine. That's all you really need.
I agree. That's all I do in Madden. I just call the same plays over and over.
Are you a big Madden person?
Not really.
Not really.
Here's the way that I like to use Madden is the way that Madden's not really intended, right? I like for it to be super easy. Like I like to go on there and I like to just put up the insane numbers because like that's what it's for, right? I'm not gonna kick back, relax, and go to a defensive struggle in the middle of a game. No, dude, I'm gonna be the quarterback. I'm gonna lock on the offense. I'm gonna throw for 500 yards, and I'm gonna have 40 touchdowns. Like
in the first half.
In the first half. Like that's how I want to play it. Like I understand like it's not fun. Like some people are like, oh, that's not challenging. I know. I don't want it to be challenging. Like I want to have fun playing it.
Yeah, I just want to like, okay, that makes sense. I like that a lot. And it's fun too. It's fun to have those games too where you have gaudy stats. They have a whole season's worth of stats in one game.
And it's like I've played 3 games and have thrown 37 touchdowns. It's like, yeah, like I want to do that. It's a lot more fun than like playing the game and having 4 touchdowns and 7 picks. Like that's not fun.
Yeah. No, that's not fun. I had a buddy who many broken controllers were had when you play him in NC2A football. I think it was like 02 or 01, but he had Miami and Santana Moss. He would move Santana Moss to quarterback, and he would run 5 wides, and it was like a cheat code because you would just roll him out, and if you didn't cover him, he would run. And if you did cover him, he could just throw the ball up there to I think it was like Jeremy Shockey or something like that. And it was undefeated. And you're like, God, I can't. And yeah, you'd break the controller because you were like, I hate you. Like, this is difficult.
There's always plays like that too. And like, I think there's one going around on Madden right now that's like an RPO that will like glitch out the game. Like it, like if you, there's one that's like, there's like a play that's banned in Madden tournaments. I can't
really
like RPO glance alert or something like that. Like if you're the quarterback and you keep it and you just like run around the edge, no one will chase you.
Oh, that's amazing. So they had to nerf it, right? Like they do in Fortnite with weapons, right? Where they just don't do it.
Yep.
Just can't. Wow. I've always thought that the not Nintendo, the video game tournaments were crazy when I watched Entourage. Like I thought that when I first heard about those, and I'm like, and all these Mad tournaments, man, they're crazy. Have you ever watched you've been on YouTube rabbit holes and seen those tournaments?
Yeah, yeah.
Those are crazy. Like, and even how they play, like I watch them play FIFA and they just like pass, shot, pass, shot. It was like, wow, this is intense. That's not how you play soccer, but
no. Oh, they don't play it like the game, like the actual sport at all. Like that's another thing that like That's another thing that was tough for me to adjust to because like when I play FIFA, I'll pass it back. I'm passing the ball around. Like
You're
I'm
moving
passing
it. You're moving it around.
I'm playing it out the back. That's how I'm playing FIFA. That's not like how actual people play FIFA though. Like the competitive people are like, okay, we're taking risks on everything. We're slide tackling. We're passing the ball all around. We're getting after it like that. But I was actually in St. Louis. Now that you mentioned that brought me to this. It's not necessarily, this wasn't a Madden tournament, but it was a Super Smash Bros tournament.
Oh yeah, that's big on 60, not 64, but on GameCube too. Even
Yeah,
was even on like the old school.
I think
Nintendo
people had
GameCube.
like the GameCube controllers that they plugged into like the computer.
Okay,
Was
gotcha.
kind of the deal. But dude, like it was incredible. Like the production of it was wild because it was in the ballpark village that they had. And it was on
Yeah,
like the main stage, and like they're playing these two computers like facing each other basically, watching it up on the big screen. Like, man, they're good. Number one, like it's fun to watch when people are good at that stuff.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, man, it's one of those things where like it's unreal because I think a lot of times too, like when you look at like Madden, like you don't run the ball in Madden. Are you gonna run the ball? Some people are good at it, but like no one wants to run the ball for fun unless you're active like player locked on the running back, then that's fun. But yeah, the game is not played how it is intended to in real life. It's supposed to be like a simulation game, right? Like it's supposed to be, oh, this is very similar to real life. It's not.
no. Well, everyone wants NFL Blitz, like when you're in the studio, you have
Yeah.
the NFL Blitz. That to me was football person. Like that's like it's entertainment. There's no PI. All the players look like these big old roided up,
Oh yeah.
polygon shapes, and even like the quarterbacks were like
Polygon.
swole.
Yeah.
But it was cool. But that's entertainment. That's the entertainment aspect. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Small little playbook, pick it out, double passes, whatever. Like that's where football needs to go to get in the real TV viewers. Have you seen the A7FL thing?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna
So
Google
what
it right
it
now.
is, tackle football. It's tackle football, but they don't wear any pads at all. They don't wear helmets, and it's full on like just football, and it's rough, and it's awesome. It's so
So
cool. Like
is it like sevens rugby kind of, but like football? They're saying.
I don't know if it's like sevens rugby at all, but I think it's called A7FL. But it's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, I found
It's
it.
so cool. It always pops up my Instagram feed, and I absolutely love it. And it's awesome. That's football, and I think they should have that as a flag football instead of flag football in the Olympics. You're watching the highlights? Legit.
No, I just saw that Dominique Rogers-Cromartie is with the Tampa Bay Nightcrawlers in that league.
Really?
So like, yeah, I mean,
That's awesome.
Dominique Rogers-Cromartie. People forget he has a really good song named after him. Do
People.
you? There's that Philly sports guy who did like songs for like Lorenzo Kane and everything because when Andy Reid came to Kansas City, he made songs for them. I think about him every now and again, but like Dominique Rogers-Cromartie, he says all the ladies in Philly went to pop up a party with Dominique Rogers-Cromartie,
Oh
which like
wow.
that's a
No.
bar. That's a bar.
Yeah. No. I think Eddie Murphy's "Party All the Time" will be the best celebrity crossover song in the history of time because it just gets me going.
It's a good song.
It'd be my baseball walking music.
Ooh, that's a good. I'm sure we've had that blind nil before, but I'm sure that would be a good one. Speaking of blind nil, Nick, let's get into it because I'm gonna pull up my sheet here of the ones that I have
Do you
written
have one?
down.
Do you have one? Have you? Are you gonna just come up with one on the spot?
No. Remember last week I said that I had two written down, so I had one for this week too. But after
Okay,
this week, I'm out. I
you're
don't
out.
have any more
I was
on
thinking
my
of a
list.
day of. I was thinking about a day of when I start to do like doing all the research and everything like that. That's when I like to really just. That's what I'm
Yeah, maybe.
feeling.
Mine is usually when the other person's talking when I think of them.
Love that.
Or I'll text our friend Jordan Foote,
Oh, nice.
and I'll say, Jordan, what do you think we should talk about? Give me a blind now. What do you want to talk about?
I remember the first time I met Jordan, I was like, "Your Twitter profile does not match who you are
No, it doesn't, dude.
at all.
He
You've
tries to
got
be
a
this
note."
buttoned up professional reporter. That's not him. That's not Jordan at all. That
Oh, I
kid.
love him too. I love him. He's fantastic. All
Yeah,
right, hit it up. Hit it up. What's your blind nil?
okay. It's a football related one. I
Okay.
hope that you don't have a football related one, so we can end
I
on
don't.
some.
I
Perfect.
do not.
Who has been the most impressive team to you so far in this NFL season?
So are we talking like the full season? Like who's been like through week in, week out?
Yeah, who's been the most impressive team to you so far this season? Just
This is gonna sound boring, but Philly. Like to me, Philly is like if you want to talk about like power rankings, uh, I give Philly because they've been consistently just great team.
yeah.
Like what was their one loss? Was it San Francisco? Right?
Yeah.
Did they lose to
No,
San
they lost to the
Francisco?
Jets, right? Am I right, Nick? Check that. Check. Yeah, they
Or
lost to
just
the
the
Jets.
Jets? Okay.
Because I knew that it was some bogus team like the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs lost to the Broncos.
Broncos. Yeah,
And,
exactly.
and,
And the Lions.
yeah, the Lions too. Sure.
But no, to me, okay, so they have this great squad, they have this great nucleus, and they're solid on all fronts. You have a great offensive line, you had a great defensive line. You know, your quarterback is making solid throws, is playing for a long run. You know, he's a
Yeah.
running quarterback, but he understands that he's got to adapt his game to play long like Brady. You know, to be around for many years, and just some good decisions being made. And I just love who they picked up. What's his face with the bright shoes from Tennessee?
AJ Brown
Oh, how they let him walk, how Tennessee did is
was a trade.
beyond me.
It was a
Well, I
trade.
mean, just still though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you got him out there. Like you're like, hey, we don't want you. We
Sure.
want some people. Like because he was kick ass and he's a playmaker. Like he's an absolute playmaker, and it's a great combo. He's a true WR1.
He's a dog.
Yeah, that's what I love about him. But yeah, but I'd say Philly for me by far. Just they have the complete team. You could say 49ers, but I'm not sold on Brock Purdy. So that's why I wouldn't say the Niners, in case you were curious. And Buffalo's been inconsistent as hell. You don't know what you're going to get. But Philly, week in, week out, man, they've been doing it.
When I started to come around on Brock Purdy, that's when he played like garbage the last 3 games. You know,
Exactly.
it's just like I was like, you know what? Maybe I should start to like Brock Purdy. You know, it was one of those things like maybe I should give him some respect. Then he goes out there and has 3 bad games in a row. So I'm with you there on the Niners. I was looking up that trade that the Eagles made to the Titans. They gave them number 18 and number 101 overall for AJ Brown, and then they signed him to a 57 or 4-year, $100 million contract that include 57 million guaranteed. And he wanted to stay in Tennessee, but they didn't offer him enough money, is what he said.
Crazy.
Um,
That's crazy. I don't know, man. I feel like you got to have some way not to break the bank. You know, you got to like, man, you got to give money to some other people around you, like what Brady would do back in the day, right? And we
Yeah.
talked about this many times. He was the top 5, top 10 paid quarterback, never like the top guy because he knew better. Right? Don't take all the money. Then you have no one around you. All this money, you have no one around you. Look at like opposite of Dak Prescott. You know, all the money around you, and you got just. I don't know why. I don't know why I just went on my way to take a swipe at Dak, but it just bothers me how the Cowboys could be that team as well. But Dak his play is so inconsistent.
Yeah. To me, it's been the Ravens. And now I knew going into the year the Ravens were going to be better, right? And
Right.
I knew that going into it, but it was a big year for Lamar in terms of like, hey, you got to prove it. Now you have weapons around you. Now that they actually put weapons around you, they paid you. Let's see it. It's been pretty impressive. This week's going to be a big week for that, but I think they've been pretty impressive to get back to contending for the top seed in the AFC. And that AFC North right now has 3 or 4, all 4 teams are getting into the playoffs as the playoffs started today, which is kind of crazy to think about a whole division making the playoffs.
It's crazy.
But yeah, I've been most impressed by the Ravens, just because how their team's built, how they've been performing. Even when they had J.K. Dobbins go out, they got another running back that comes in and has a big game. So it's one of those things where, I just think the comeback of Lamar Jackson, his return to prominence is is the most impressive thing for me so far this year, Nick.
Yeah, well, and I'm looking at all their games. Man, their defense is really good.
Yeah.
Like they got a good defense, and they're playing well on the road. They're playing well at home. It's yeah, man. It's so if you get any sort of spark with that offense from Lamb, could be huge. I didn't like how there was some sort of extended contract negotiations with Lamb to get him done because it's always like I'm always curious like was he asking too much or were the Ravens like man you're sus we don't know if we're gonna pay you like that but it's like man who else are you gonna get who else will
Yeah.
give you a better shot than him.
Especially with how their offense is built. There's not like so that was always the thing with Lamar too, is like where was Lamar gonna go?
Where would you want to go? Where would you want San Francisco? I'm sure.
Yeah. They were Miami. Imagine him with the Dolphins. Oh my gosh.
That would be sick. that would be intense because you got I mean that backfield alone, right? Imagine the QB run game with those guys, and then you got Tyreek Hill to cap it off. Like that's
oh my gosh.
that could be good.
I know he was rumored to the Falcons, but I guess the Falcons never actually called, which malpractice IMO from the Falcons there.
Coach, what was that running? What was that excuse? It sounded like my children when you catch them with their hand in the cookie jar.
He's bad, dude. He's gonna get fired. Yeah, he's been there for a year and a half.
I think honestly, Tucker. Sometimes I think coaches, I think coaches are going. I think they shut it down. They're signed like a 3-year contract and they're guaranteed. And they're like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm sick of spending the night here at the facility. I want to just go home and get paid. And they just go, you know what? I'm going to office space it. I'm just going to not care. Yeah. And I'm going to, whatever. Just fire me.
Nick, bring that comment back up there from T-Bone. I do think Lamar most impressive other than the Chiefs being the 1 seed. Yeah, I think we're kind of like maybe we're numb to it, especially being in Kansas City. The Chiefs being the 1 seed is actually pretty impressive. Especially at this juncture of the season with the issues that they've had at wide receiver and everything like that. That's kind of impressive. But I will say, sans the Chiefs, because it's easy for us to say the Chiefs. I do think for me, it's been the AFC and it's been Lamar and the Ravens over there. The NFC, they are who we thought they were, Nick. When you start to really think about it, like they're as bad as we thought they were.
Yeah, well, I thought the Cowboys would have a shot, but man, they just don't look good. It's a 2-horse race over there. I mean, it's Philly or San Francisco or bust. Like that'll be the NFC Championship game for sure. Will be that those two will battle to see who gets to go to the big one. I tell you what though, be on the lookout for healthy Joe Burrow. Yeah. Oh my God! I mean, I know it's a 1-game data set. But I saw Joey B hit him with the pump fake in a game.
Dude.
Underrated QB move is the pump fake. Like, I mean, we say it way too often in real life. Like, right? Like, oh man, I thought we were gonna go out, but you pump fake me, okay? Or it's oh man, that was a bad pump. Like that's a legit move. Like the pump fake is and he's just so smooth with it. And once he's healthy, talk about a guy who helps his O-line a lot, is Joey B.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I was watching him and I was impressed. I was very impressed.
It's probably not a popular take in Kansas City, but I like to watch Joe Burrow play quarterback. Like he's one of those guys when healthy. Man, that was probably one of the like funniest things is after the game against the Bills, he was asked after the game, like, "Hey, what's been different like from the early part of the year to now? Like, you guys are the offense is a whole lot better." And he's like, "Well, I can run, so I can feel both of my legs." So yeah. No, dude, like when he's on, it's It's fun to watch.
It's really fun to watch, man. Yeah, honestly, like for me, it is difficult to watch games with bad quarterbacks and there's not a good O lineman in there.
Yeah.
It's tough for me to watch games where they just look sloppy and the execution is poor and they miss their chances. Because I think to me, why I love watching the NFL is that when you get an opportunity, you get this small little window to put a missile into the Death Star. They do it. The good ones do it 9 times out of 10, and it's a thing of beauty to see the get exploited. It's like when I watch in the English Premier League. They get like an open space, top of the 18, boom, it's getting slotted back of the bulge in the old onion bag for sure. It's pretty.
All right, Nick, why don't you take us home with your blind nil?
All right, so you're an NFL player.
Okay.
And you're a Chief. Okay. You're from here. Your whole life story. You're from here. You went to college at Missouri State, Missouri West. Where'd you go to school at?
Northwest Missouri State.
Thank you. Northwest Missouri
Cats.
State. Go Cats. And so you have Monday. So you got back from London Sunday.
Yep.
Or Monday, whatever. And you had a workout Monday, and then Tuesday you're off. So Wednesday, today, is the start of your bye week.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing this week? Are you going somewhere? Are you flying somewhere? Are you getting on a boat with a bunch of friends? Like what are you doing?
Maybe Argentina for a concert. Who knows?
Who did that?
Travis Kelce's going to Argentina for Taylor Swift.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Reportedly, I shouldn't say that's a confirmed thing. The concert's tomorrow, maybe.
Right. Well, that's good. You got enough time to recover.
Yeah.
And if you listen, if you're on a private jet, the world's your
boy, that's so different.
You're not in the middle seat, like scrunched up like this. I mean, if you're flying private, man, you land refreshed. It's like you land refreshed. It was like taking a 10-minute car ride. You feel good. It doesn't even mess with you. And you're probably in the same time zone too, maybe.
Yeah, I know Mexico City's in Central. Producer Nick says Argentina is in the Eastern time zone, maybe. You're not gonna get a ton of jet lag. I wonder how long of a flight it is. I'm sure I could Google it, but
yeah.
No, I probably wouldn't go to Argentina for a concert necessarily. I've seen a lot of the guys on Instagram that I follow. They just go back home. They just go back home. They just hang out with some loved ones. I'm very much a guy who likes to. I like a good staycation.
Yeah.
I'm a big staycation guy where I just stay home and just shut the brain off. Don't do anything. Kind of like a mental reset type of guy when it comes to a lot of that stuff. So for me, I mean, I do like to travel. Don't get me wrong, but like, especially if I know I got to be back by X day on X time, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna stay here. I'm not gonna put myself through the travel stress. I'm not gonna rely on Southwest to get me home on time or American or Delta because I'm probably not flying private. Even if I'm on the Chiefs, I'm probably not flying private because I'm probably not high up on that 53-man roster, that 53-man total.
In this world, you're not all pro.
No, I'm not all pro. Listen, this is what it comes down to. In my fantasy of being an NFL player, I'm like on the practice squad, dude. Like
nice.
I'm a game day activate, or I am a game day inactive, is what my life is like. So like I go through the whole motions. I'm on the 53. I'm a healthy scratch all the time.
Okay.
Were you ever a healthy scratch?
I was. I was a healthy scratch. No. I actually, it was weird. So when I was in New Orleans, I was the backup. Yeah. And for the first 8 weeks, I was the healthy scratch. And that was because I don't know, they had a vet, being the center and guard that they really liked. Yeah. And then over like the weeks of practice, they were like, wow, we really like you. We want you to be the backup now. So I would come in, work week would start Wednesday, and we'd have our special teams meeting at 8:30. And it'd be the first. And I'd look up on there and they'd have the field goal team. And if I was on the field goal team, that means I was active that week. And if I wasn't on the field goal team, I was inactive. So like, honestly, I loved it because it was crazy. It was stressful up until game day, where that whole week I'm practicing like I'm one step away from being the starter. So I go from being inactive to being a starter. So I got to prepare for guard, center, guard, and so I got to prepare like I'm the starter, watch film on stuff. But it's cool because Sunday you wake up and I'm like, and I look at all three guards, make sure to see it. Go, okay, did you get the flu last night? Because that'd be the only way. Like I'm starting, like it'd be like all of a sudden it goes from, hey, you're inactive, eating a hot dog at halftime to you're starting. Let's go. So it was like, so I wake up Sunday and like, see, they're all healthy. Okay, cool. I'm chilling. I'm getting my hot dog at halftime. I'm in street clothes. It was no stress. It was actually like the best. It went from like, okay, you're good, like no stress. And I loved it. It was actually great. It was nice.
See, I think that's a pretty solid gig, is to be a healthy and active. You get all the glory. You still get your game check, right?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that seems like a great. That seems like, sign me up for that. Golly, you convinced me. I was like, oh wait, you don't play? Does that mean you get a game check? Oh no, you of course you do.
Oh, it's the same. It don't mess with anything. No, it was great. I enjoyed it because I used to like. It was cool, like you go on these road games, right? And you get time. Like I'd go shopping.
Yeah.
Go to a mall, go out to eat. It was great. Obviously, you don't drink because I'm not a total degenerate. And but yeah, it was cool. But it could go from 0 to 100 real quick. If like, because one time a center guy had the flu, and he woke up on Sunday and then I remember coming down and being like, okay, cool, all right, this is it. But I'm a professional, so
right.
It wasn't a big deal.
I mean, you still practice all week.
Yeah. Well, and you take the amount of reps and you act like you are the starter, and you do your notes and watch your game film and all that stuff. Yeah, it's cool.
I want to
be. So you're doing a staycation. You're doing a staycation then?
I think that's what I do. What would you do?
What I would do is I'm with you. It depends on the city. Like it depends on what city I was in, right? If it was like a Buffalo or a Green Bay, I would try to go to the nearest big city because I played in Phoenix, so we would stay in Phoenix. Like there's so many resorts in Scottsdale. And my wife and I, we would pack up our stuff and we pack up weekend bags. We get Wednesday we go and check into a hotel and just live in Scottsdale and not go back to our house. So we'd be in a hotel, so do the staycation, and we'd go out to eat, we'd drink, we'd hang out, wouldn't watch TV. Just it's a good mental break. Because remember, you're locked in, right?
Yeah.
You play nonstop football, and this is your time to kind of breathe. Like I remember doing the whole like go back to K-State, watch a game, but I don't want all that stress. Yeah. I don't want to see people. I don't want to be nothing. I just want to be with my people. When I was in St. Louis, went back to Dallas. There was a concert one time, and we got a nightclub. We got went partied at a nightclub in Dallas. It was fun with my buddies. I enjoyed that. But after a while, you're just like, man, I just want peace and quiet.
Yeah. I do see a lot of like Patrick Mahomes, like as we're recording this podcast, is like at the Mavericks game. Like he's back in Texas and he's doing stuff like that. I think they have a house there in Dallas.
Yeah, they got a house in Vaquero, and like this really cool part of it's like right west of Grapevine, I think.
Is that near South Lake?
It's right. It's west of South Lake too.
Yeah.
It's Grapevine, South Lake, and like Trophy Club Vaquero. It's a really nice area. It's a really pretty area.
Is that where Jerry lives?
He might. I know the Joe Bros lived there in Vaquero. Sean Payton lived in Vaquero. So yeah, a lot of CEOs live in Vaquero.
Yeah,
it's nice. If that tells you, it's like a Leawood on steroids.
Leawood on steroids.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you can imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've seen a lot of guys do their bye week differently, but I think I'm with you, Nick. I think it's the staycation is the route to go. But any final thoughts before we head out of here?
No, man, that was good. I like that, man. I'm gonna be thinking about Maction. The over. Always take the over on a Maction too. There's always insane basketball scores with the Maction, so I love that.
It's kind of turned into a defensive conference here recently.
Has it? That's awesome.
A little bit.
I love that. Take the under then.
My Rockets are playing pretty well right now.
Oh, nice. Everyone forgets that's Toledo. They're like they want to say the Mud Hens, but that's the minor league. I played with a few guys from Toledo, so I know.
Now the history of Toledo as a city is very interesting because between Ohio and Michigan they fought over the city for a little bit because it is right on, I think one of the lakes there.
City. It's like a Kansas City. It's on both.
Yeah, so the way Ohio drew the border is so they got it, and Michigan wanted Toledo in their border. Maybe we save that for a different podcast. I give you the history of Toledo as a city. But it's very interesting. If you guys are interested in it, go check it out, or maybe just check us out next week, as we'll hopefully have Big B back. He's well. He had knee surgery, so he'll be back better than ever. And we'll be back on another week of Outside the Trenches. We'll have a game to talk about, and we'll have some of these matchups. We'll see more about this AFC race and see if those old Baltimore Ravens are for real. They've got a big test this week. They got a big test coming up next week, as well as the Chiefs will also have a big test as well. But for Nick Leckey, I'm Tucker Franklin. Thank you for watching and listening to Outside the Trenches, presented by our friends at 5 Farms Irish Cream Liqueur. We'll talk to you guys next week.